Hi everyone, thanks for joining me for Coffee and Card at Home. So today is the start of a new month using our new stamp set, and the stamp set that we're using this month is called Let's Set Sail, and this is a really nice stamp set that is in our mini catalogue, or January to June mini catalogue, and it coordinates with the little sailboat punch as well. So we're using both of those today to create the cards, and because I had to miss a week last week, I'm doing two today, so you'll see that these are ever so slightly different. So this is effectively our week 1 and week 2 together. So I've used the same idea for both, where we've created a background, but then I've just changed it slightly at the end. So when we've finished stamping our backgrounds, which we're going to do at the same time, and we finished stamping our boats, I've actually then cut this one into 3 sections, which is inspired by a card that I saw in the Stampin' Up catalogue. And then I've just stuck my sentiment on separately rather than stamping it straight onto the card. So they're very, very similar, but just slight variations, like I say, to create our week 1 and week 2 card together, as we missed a week last week. So let's get started. We'll just pop those out of the way. So you're going to need a C6 card base, which is half of an A4 sheet and then scored at 10.5 centimetres. And this is Balmy Blue, I think, this card. But you could use Paul Harty, or I think Seaside Spray is another one that's quite similar, but I went for a pale blue for my card base. So I've just scored both of them and burnish the folds on there, and then I've got 2 pieces of basic white the same size, and these are 13.8 by 9.5 centimeters, so they're a little bit smaller than I often use, but it's just so that we can see a bit more of the color behind it. And then I've got a scrap of basic white for stamping my boat onto, and then I've just got a small rectangle, well, square, it's almost rectangular actually, of card, which is about just over an inch, so it's nearly 1.5 inches wide on each side, to create a square for our little sentiment that we're going to add to one of them, but we won't need that just yet. So let's get our backgrounds done. So we're going to start off first of all with Pool Party, or you could use Balmy Blue, whichever, to create our sea. And we're going to use the long piece, which is used for the sea and the sand. So I'm just going to ink that up. It's a little bit fiddly with such big ones. And I'm just going to work out where I want my horizon line to be. You could have it exactly halfway, or you might want it slightly higher up. But wherever you place that will be the top of your sea. And then we're going to do another one and just overlap it slightly. And then another one, and you might want to turn the stamp around to give you a slightly different effect. And I might just go a little bit lower on that one, but overlap a bit more. There we go. And I'm just going to get my other one, and I'm going to do the same on that one, because essentially these are the same really. The only difference is what I did with one of them is I put some slightly darker blue bits on it, which I'll do with this one in a moment. So I just carry on down until you're happy with how much sand you've got at the end. And I'm going to give that stamp a good clean off. And we're going to use slightly darker blue now. I've got light of navy, but I don't want to use it as it comes because that's quite dark, so I'm going to stamp it off first, make it a bit lighter. But I'm not going to put it completely across. I'm just going to use it so that it comes in at the side slightly there. So again, just ink it up, stamp it off, and then we'll have it coming in over on this side this time. Okay. and clean that stamp off well, because we're going to use it now for the sand. So we don't want any blue remaining on it. So the sand, I have used crushed curry, just because it's a slightly deeper yellow, which is quite a nice sand colour. And we're just going to ever so slightly overlap what we've just done and then work our way down. And the nice thing about this stamp set is you don't have to be too precise. It's one of those that has that kind of watercolory type effect. So if your stamping isn't perfect, it just all adds to the lovely effect. And you can see as you layer them, you get those different lines coming in, which is quite nice that the sand has moved around a little. I'm going to bring my other piece back and do the same with that one. This is quite an orangey sort of yellow. Remember to turn the stamp maybe, so it gives you a slightly different variation. Just get that bit at the end. And we've got one more final use for that stamp, which is totally inspired by Stampin' Up. And I saw it and I loved it. I thought I have to give that a go. So they've created a sun just up in the corner. And they've used this stamp again, but they've used the thinner end. So what they've done first is in full strength colour, this is now Daffodil Delight, by the way. They have stamped on the corner there. And then they've inked it up again, stamped off to make it much paler, and then just stamped to make some like little kind of sunbeams coming out. But it's important to do the stamping off first so that you just get it a bit lighter. You might have enough space for 3, or you might have enough space for 4. There we go. You can see that in the corner there. And this one, same thing. So in full strength, we're just going to stamp over that corner of the card. And then we're going to stamp again, but stamp off. And then create our little sunbeams. I think they're really sweet. I think that's such an inspired idea. Now, unfortunately, I must have a little bit of blue that I've picked up off my grid paper because I've got a bit of a splodge there, which is a shame. Hopefully it won't be too noticeable. So just be very careful of that, especially when you're using a lighter colour. Right, that is all that stamping with that one. And then we're just going to grab some early espresso to stamp our birds. And there's the cutest little bird stamp in this set. I really like this. And you can just stamp once, or you can have more birds than that. Just remember to get it the right way around so the V end of the V goes down. And I'm just going to stamp twice, and they nestle really nicely together as well. They look like a little flock flying in. And then same on this one. And I've got a tiny splodge here, so it'd be a good idea to get that covered over with my birds. And stamp them a little differently on that one. And then whilst I've got my early espresso out, I'm just going to stamp my sentiment on this one. And I've used the one in the set that's hope it's your best day ever. I'm just going to ink that up and then use my grid lines to help me to just stamp that nice and straight on the bottom. Of course, you could put it on the other side if you preferred. Entirely up to you. And then that is our background for that one finished. So I'm going to stick that onto my card base now. And that one, then the actual background piece is finished, and we just need to do the boat to put on that one. So like I say, this one gives us a slightly bigger border all the way around, so just bear that in mind as you stick it down. I'm going to pop that to the side, and then I'm going to bring in my other one. This is the one that we're going to chop up. So I'm going to take my paper trimmer, and again, this is an idea inspired by Stampin' Up. This was in their catalogue and I thought it was a lovely idea. So we're just going to cut where the sand line is, and then we're going to cut further up. I don't want to chop into my birds, so I'm going to cut just above the water. And then when we arrange it on our card base, we're going to arrange it so that it is slightly at an angle. So that one's going to go off it that way. That one will go like that. And then the sand will go like that. So you can see it's just a slightly different variation of how we lay the card out. But I think it just does enough to make it a little bit different, even though the image we've stamped is exactly the same. So I'm just going to stick that one on first. Then my C. And if you wanted to, you could raise some of these up with dimensionals. I decided not to because I'm going to raise up my boat with dimensionals, but up to you. Just make sure you get that the right way round so that you've got your sea and sky together, and then you've obviously got a slight line of your sand there. And then finally stick on my sand, and that one I'm going to stick on so that that one is going in a similar direction to the one at the top. So I'm just going to pop that out of the way. I'm going to bring in a scrap of card now because we're going to stamp our boats. So first of all, we're going to stamp the actual boat with the mast on it. And I'm using early Espresso for this. I'm going to try and be frugal with my cards, so I'm putting them nestled together and the other way around. And then I'm going to stamp my sails in real red and Night of Navy. Kind of nice Jubilee type colours at the minute. It's not many weeks away till the Jubilee. So I'm going to take the curved sail and I'm going to stamp that one in. Oh, forgive me a second. I think I've got something stuck on my stamp. That's better. So I'm going to stamp a red one here. And another red one. And then I'm going to stamp the other one in Night of Navy. There we go. And then just whilst I've got my Night of Navy out, actually I'm going to stamp my sentiment onto my small rectangle of card. And that one I used Let Your Dreams Set Sail. And that fits perfectly on that size square. Okay, so I'm going to pop that to the side. We'll use that in a moment. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut out my shapes, and then I'm going to use the sailboat punch to actually cut them out. But the thing that you have to bear in mind with the builder punches is that the images are all close together on the punch, and it's very difficult to stamp them exactly as they are, but also to punch them out exactly as they are. So I'm just going to show you a little technique that you can use just to help you make sure that you get those cut out effectively without chopping into them. So we're going to use a post-it note. So if you are finding that you've not got enough card to stick in and hold on to it, so there, my finger won't go any further. If you stick your post-it note with the sticky end onto the edge of your image and feed it in, you should then be able to line up your image within your punch and just cut, and it will then cut out your image effectively. And sometimes it does cut out the post-it note, but it didn't in that case. So I'm just going to do my next one. But it's just a nice little trick for helping you if your bits of card are just too small to hold. I'm going to do the red one now. The red one's going to go in from the other side. And sometimes you just have to bear in mind that the post-it note might get in the way of the closing mechanism. Oops. I haven't quite got enough to hold on to, so it doesn't matter if your post-it note covers your image, because you should be able to see if you've got a light colour through it. It just means that you end up using some of your post-it note there. I might need to get a new one for that. And then you can obviously just peel that off if it wants to come off. Try my next one. And I don't think I've got enough there to hold on to. So just be careful that you haven't got any bits still stuck in your punch, because occasionally that's how it can sometimes get a bit jammed. This is one of the things that happens with the builder punch. You often end up with quite a lot of bits cut out that you don't want, so it's good to clear away the rubbish so you can see what you've got left and what you actually need and what you don't need. Right, so the boats, let's see if I've got enough. So with that one, I've got enough to be able to hold on to it without the post-it notes. This one I don't think I have, so I've got a tiny bit of post-it note. It's got the sticky bit left, so just stick that on there. And of course, if you don't have the punch, or you actually find the punch a little bit fiddly, then you could just cut these out by hand. They're not too tricky. The trickiest part is actually the boat, but the sails obviously are very easy. There we go. Right, so it's time to get those stuck on now. So I'm going to bring back this one first of all, and I've just stuck my boat on with a bit of Tombow. So just a little line there, and then a few tiny dots along the mast. And I'm going to do my other one whilst I'm sticking the boat on. And just remember that this one, because it's at an angle, you need to try and stick your boat on straight. So you might just want to use your grid lines to help you to get that in the right place. And then my sails have been stuck on with dimensionals. And to be honest, you probably only need one big one and then a mini one, or what I often do is I use up some of my scraps that I've got. So the edges, I never waste anything. These edges are good size for putting on there. And it's the curved part that goes at the back of the boat. And then the triangular bit goes at the front. So just stick a big one in the corner there, and then a half one just there, and another half one just there. The key is just to make sure that it's not going to sag down once it's on your card, so just make sure you have enough dimensionals. And of course you don't have to use dimensionals either. You could just stick it on if you wanted it to be flat. Whilst I've got this card here, I'm just going to do the sentiment. So I'm just going to pop 4 dimensionals on there. And then this card will be finished. So again, don't be fooled by the diagonal lines of that. Just make sure you've got your card lined up so that you can stick on your sentiment straight. And then that one is now finished. And then I'll bring back the other one and we'll just get our sails stuck on. So my triangular sail is going to go at the front, and my curved one at the back. There we go. Just get rid of my rubbish. And that is 2 cards complete this week. Very similar styles, and quick to do 2 at the same time, but obviously slightly different results to end with. So just a quick recap of what we've used. We've used the Let's Set Sail, a very tricky one to say, stamp set with the Sailboat Builder punch, and we have created our lovely backgrounds with our boat on them using the inks Night of Navy, Real Red, Early Espresso, Daffodil Delight, Crushed Curry, Pool Party. And then we have used Tombow and some dimensionals to attach everything together. And there's one final thing that you might want to do, which is to make your sun look a little bit shimmery by adding a little bit of Wink of Stella. You might also want to put a bit of shimmer on the sea as well. And you probably can't see that on the video very well, but hopefully it will just be enough to catch the light. So if there's anything you'd like to get hold of, please contact me and I can help you out with that, or you can go to the stampinup.uk website and take a look at the different stamp sets and choose Claire Humphreys as your demonstrator. Thanks for joining me today. I will be back next Monday at the usual time, where we will be doing our week 3 card using the same bundle. Hope to see you then. Have a great week. Bye.